Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're taking a look at a very fun update in Season 16 of Go Battle League, Mudshot being given to Greedent. Greedent was already one of the spammiest Go Battle League Pokemon with Bullet Seed, and now with Mudshot, it got even spammier. Each Body Slam is reached in only 8 turns, meaning Greedent is now electrifyingly fast to charge moves. To test it out, I paired it up with a pretty standard core of Defense Deoxys and Shadow Steelix. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out Mudshot Greedent in action. Hopping into the first match, picking up a pretty tough lead, Defense Deoxys into Gligar. Gligar is a bit awkward for this team. I'm going to stay in with the Deoxys, go for the Psycho Boost to get some very nice chip damage, and then it's Mudshot Greedent time. In comes Greedent, and as you can see, Greedent is absurdly fast, only 4 Mudshots to a Body Slam. Gligar will go for the dig. Greedent already close to 2 Body Slams here. Body Slam number 1 into the Gligar, will be no shielded. They're firing off another charge move, and I can tank this. Greedent is very bulky, so I'm able to withstand that damage, farm up, and now I'm at back-to-back Body Slams here. Opponent, if they want to keep the Gligar alive, is going to have to double shield. Opponent underestimating the spam of Greedent, and Greedent not only takes a shield, but gets the KO of Gligar. In comes Sableye. Sableye gets the farm down, and interestingly enough, this is actually not a purified Sableye. Opponent running a shiny costume Sableye, so I have to watch out for a potential power gem as opposed to return. I'm farming up, going for the Breaking Swipe, but a very nice catch by my opponent as they catch the Breaking Swipe onto Toxapex. I'm looking to farm up a bunch of energy with the Steelix, and then I'm going to be switching into the Defense Deoxys. Deoxys, of course, gets absolutely destroyed by Sableye, so my play here is I just spank a ton of energy on the Steelix, use the Deoxys to get the Toxapex as low as I possibly can, and then I can pretty comfortably win the game with Steelix. The shield advantage and switch that Greedent was able to get me in the mid-game was absolutely crucial to finishing off this game. I'm looking for the farm down here, little bit of lag, opponent is able to save that Toxapex and send in the Sableye. Thunderbolt gets the shield, Sableye gets the farm down, in comes Steelix. I'm not at an Earthquake, and this is not Breaking Swipe range, so I'm just going to go for the extra Dragon Tail. Now, they're probably in a range where I can just Breaking Swipe and farm down, so I go for the Breaking Swipe there. That plus 1 Dragon Tail will get the KO, and Toxapex will get farmed down as well. Hopping into the next match, picking up another tough lead, Defense Deoxys into Jellicent. I'm going to stay in this matchup to start, look to bank some energy, and try and make a catch onto Greedent. But my opponent shows great patience, holding on to their energy, and now they're going to send in Charm Wigglytuff. And this matchup, I think, is one of the best examples of showing how absurdly spammy Greedent is. Charm deals a lot of damage, but it's not very good in terms of energy generation, whereas Mudshot is absolutely lightning fast. Greedent already at 3 charge moves, forcing a shield from the Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff farming up, underestimating the speed of Greedent, and Greedent is going to force both shields from the Charmer. If I want, I can very comfortably shield and win switch, but rather than switch, honestly, I would rather just take the shield advantage, and then I can look for a farm down. But not with Deoxys. I'm going for an incredibly aggressive farm down with the Shadow Steelix. Dragon Tail is double resisted, so I'm going to get a lot of energy farming down the Wigglytuff. Unfortunately, the game lags. Suddenly, the Jellicent has entered the field, and they're firing off a charge move there. Come on, game. And now, they're firing off Surf number 2. I am going to be committing the shield with the Steelix, farming up and firing off the Breaking Swipe. Earthquake does not KO, so I'm just going to go for the Breaking Swipe here, throw one more, switch, and catch the Surf onto Deoxys. So I have energy saved on the Steelix for later, and now I can farm up with the Deoxys and go for the Thunderbolt to grab the KO. Opponent, there was some lag. I'm anticipating they probably still have the Wigglytuff alive, and it looks like they do, seeing as they still have 2 Pokemon left. In the back, my opponent has Frostlast. They go for the catch onto Wigglytuff, but they are unsuccessful. I'm firing off the Psycho Boost. Psycho Boost will get some very solid chip damage. Going for Psycho Boost number 2, my opponent will deny it with an Avalanche. Avalanche will get the KO, but I can just send in Steelix, and all the energy we farmed from earlier comes in handy as we make it to the Earthquake and secure the victory. Moving into the next match, leading Defense Deoxys into Diggersby. And despite the fact that Deoxys can hit for super effective damage with counter, this is actually not a super comfortable matchup for the Deoxys. Deoxys, in order to deal any meaningful charge move damage, has to lower its attack by 2 stages with the Psycho Boost, whereas the Diggersby can very consistently reach Scorching Sands. I'm farming up and firing off the Psycho Boost. I'm now going to be debuffed, so I'm going to safe switch into the Greedent to reset the debuff. They're staying in with the Diggersby, and they're going to be firing off another Scorching Sands. Scorching Sands connects. Opponent now going to send in Mantine, and this is a Mudshot user versus a Flyer, but let's see what Greedent can do. Body Slam number 1, able to connect, and I'm going for Body Slam number 2 into the Mantine. Mantine now below half health, continuing to farm with the Greedent and winning CMP over the Mantine. Mantine, even if they go for the Aerial Ace, it's not going to be enough to KO here. They're going to need to throw 2 charge moves. Mantine goes for the Aerial Ace. Greedent able to hang on, and they're wasting no time. They're going to be firing off the charge move. Aerial Ace will get the KO. I'm sending in Steelix, looking for the farm down. Opponent is going to send in the Diggersby, and Diggersby is able to make it to a charge move here. It is just going to be the Fire Punch. I commit the shield. I'm farming up with the Steelix. I'm going to switch back into the Deoxys as they fire off their charge move. Diggersby was able to make it to the Scorching Sands, and that does quite a lot of damage. So my opponent still does have the very low health Mantine in the back. The question is, what is the final Pokemon? And it's Defense Deoxys. This is really not great. Thunderbolt will get the shield. I should make it to another Thunderbolt here. I go for the Thunderbolt, but the game stutters and I don't get the Thunderbolt. Oh my goodness, that is incredibly unfortunate. I'm now in a pretty awkward spot where I need Steelix to clutch versus the Defense Deoxys. Opponent is going to fire off the Psycho Boost, and they're going to look to try and catch and reset the debuff. They go for the catch. I hold on to my energy, but Mantine makes a charge move. That is not great. It's only the Aerial Ace, but I am rapidly losing health. I have enough for a Breaking Swipe and an Earthquake, so this will come down to a coin flip. Do I bait? Do I nuke? And do they shield? I go for the nuke with the Earthquake. Opponent commits the shield, and with that, they have won the game. Very unfortunate endgame there, but Psycho Boost from Deoxys will secure the win. Great lead in the next match, Defense Deoxys into Medicham. Being double weak to counter and seeing your opponent's counter user on the lead has got to be one of the best feelings out there. My opponent, interestingly enough, going straight for the power-up punch. So it looks like they are running power-up punch and psychic, and they're trying to boost their counter damage as quickly as they can. I'm firing off the Thunderbolt. I did wait a turn there just to make sure there weren't any catches onto, for example, a Galarian Stunfisk. They farm up, they do have enough for the Psychic here, and they will go for the boosted Psychic. They do get the defense drop. I'm farming up with the Deoxys, and again, making sure my opponent is not able to catch as I go for the Thunderbolt. That connects. Medicham will make the last second power-up punch. While this is boosted, it's not going to be enough to KO. And here, I make a misplay. I see Skarmory, I end up pivoting into the Greedent, and honestly, I should have just stayed in there with the Deoxys. After the Deoxys gets KO'd, I can bring in Steelix, and there's nothing they can do against Steelix. But I end up pivoting into the Greedent, and now that makes my life quite a bit more complicated. I'm able to tank the Sky Attack, which is fine, and the good news is Greedent is absurdly spammy. So even though this isn't the most comfortable matchup, Greedent is still putting up one heck of a fight. Greedent firing off another crunch. This will be getting the Skarmory deep into the red. Skarmory finally going to fire off the Sky Attack to KO the Greedent. And now I just have to trust in Shadow Steelix in the endgame. In comes Shadow Steelix. In the back, it's Shadow Alolan Sandslash. And I am really regretting that I didn't just keep Switch Advantage when I had it. Because if I had Greedent on the A-Slash, the game is over. But unfortunately, I gave up Switch, and now I'm potentially in a position where I might lose the game. They no-shield the first Breaking Swipe, but they're going to have to start shielding them. They are running out of HP, A-Slash in the yellow, and now it's double debuffed. Since it's double debuffed, I know I can tank this. So I'm going to let this go, send in the Deoxys, massive counter damage, and I'm firing off the Psycho Boost. Psycho Boost is going to pressure the final shield from the opponent. Back in comes the Steelix, A-Slash with a sliver of HP, able to make the last second charge move. It's the Ice Punch. In comes the Skarmory. Skarmory will be hit with the Breaking Swipe, and the A-Slash is just too low. One Dragon Tail from the Steelix will secure the KO. And that's a good game. Picking up a slightly favorable lead in the next match, defends Deoxys into Azumarill. I'm going to be staying in this matchup because I cannot afford to have Steelix go up against the Azu, so I'm just going to stay in and play this out. I can very comfortably tank a Play Rough here, and then I go for one counter and the Thunderbolt, so I am not letting them sneak any extra energy. Thunderbolt will be shielded by the Azumarill, and this keys me into the fact that they may not like the Deoxys in the back. In that case, I'm definitely going to be shielding because I want to try and get rid of the Azu. Azu now going to go for the Ice Beam. Ice Beam is incrementally cheaper, but honestly not by much. Thunderbolt is going to connect, and here, as the Deoxys, I should have just farmed up and gone for the Thunderbolt. It would have been on bad timing, but it would have KO'd. Whereas the Psycho Boost does not KO. I'm now forced to catch onto Greedent, and unfortunately, just a bit of misplay on my end. I'm going to get a nice Mudshot farm down though. Opponent is going to send in Medicham. Medicham will be answered with a ton of Body Slams. Body Slam number 1 will connect. I continue to farm up, and I'm at Body Slam number 2 here, and very close to a third. Body Slam into the Medicham will be shielded. Medicham looking for the farm down. I'm going to only make it to one charge move, so I may as well go for a debuff with the Crunch. Crunch connects. I do see the debuff. That is quite nice. And now I'm going to be sending in my Deoxys, but they have a lot of energy here, and I am probably in Ice Punch range. It's going to be very close. Ice Punch will be shielded. They have the back-to-back. Can I survive this? Come on, Deoxys. Deoxys survives it, goes for the Psycho Boost, but the opponent makes a switch, and they catch the Psycho Boost onto Gligar, and it's the Shadow Gligar as well. In comes Steelix. Steelix farming up. Opponent goes for the dig as soon as they get it, so I'm able to get a Dragon Tail for free. Dig does massive damage. I'm farming up with the Steelix to the back-to-back Breaking Swipes, and I need this Breaking Swipe to be enough to KO the Medicham here. In comes the Medicham, but it's in the yellow. That's not going to be enough. Medicham will be able to withstand the damage from the Steelix and take the win. Picking up a pretty decent lead in the next match, defends Deoxys into Pidgeot. Pidgeot will of course be able to outpace the Deoxys and get a debuff before Deoxys is able to fire off the Thunderbolt. But Thunderbolt, even when debuffed, will still deal some pretty solid damage. Pidgeot will go for the Feather Dance as always, and I'm going to be firing off the Thunderbolt and then looking to save switch into the Greedent. I need to check for a counter user. Opponent staying in this matchup, and again the spam of Greedent is just unreal. Greedent makes the Body Slam, pressures the shield from the Pidgeot. I'm expecting they're going to Feather Dance and dip, so I'm just going to no shield here. Again, it is going to be the Feather Dance. Opponent now going to send in Steelix. And this is again where having Mudshot is nice, but unfortunately I'm debuffed. So my energy is absolutely useless here. But the good news for me is that our switch timers are heavily desynced. So potentially that's something that I can take advantage of. I'm farming up with the Greedent. Greedent going for the Crunch, basically at this point just to burn the clock. Crunch will connect. I'm looking to bank some energy on the Greedent, and now I can switch into my own Steelix. They easily have enough for the Earthquake here. I'm going to commit the shield, and I guess correctly as it is the Earthquake. That's a massive shield. I'm farming up. This is just a Breaking Swipe, so I can let this go. This will debuff me, of course, but that's okay. At this point, our switch timers are heavily desynced, so getting debuffed isn't the end of the world because I can always switch out and reset the debuff. Breaking Swipe will be lethal. My switch timer is about 15 seconds from coming up, and my opponent sends in their final Pokemon, which is Jellicent. I'm firing off the debuff Breaking Swipe just to burn the switch clock, and now I can farm up and switch into the Greedent and go for the Crunch that I stored from earlier. Crunch will be shielded by my opponent. They're going to send in Pidgeot, and Pidgeot gets the farm down. I'm answering with Deoxys. I'm perfectly fine if they go for the Brave Bird here, so I'm just going to let this go. Opponent goes for the Feather Dance, and honestly, fine by me. I'm going to get the farm down, and now I try and go for one counter in the Thunderbolt, but they go for the Surf. Surf barely does not KO the Deoxys, able to hang on with 1 HP. Thunderbolt connects, and now I'm in the driver's seat of this match. Back in comes the Steelix. My debuff has been reset, and Steelix will get the farm down with Dragon Tail. Hopping into the final match, we see the Dream Lead defense Deoxys into Shadow, Alolan Sandslash. Opponent is going to save switch into Medicham, and this is perfect. I'm going to stay in with the Deoxys, win switch, and then I can align my Greedent onto that Shadow A-Slash. Greedent with Mudshot now has a dramatically improved matchup versus A-Slash, so not only are you double resisting the Shadow Claws, but the Mudshots, of course, are hitting for super effective damage. They're farming up and firing off Ice Punch after Ice Punch in this matchup. Ice Punch is going to connect. I'm firing off the Thunderbolt here, looking to potentially grab a KO, or in this case, grab a shield. I'm farming up with the Deoxys, going for the Psycho Boost, but I lose CMP to the Medicham. I'm able to tank the Ice Punch here. Opponent goes for the Psychic. That does incrementally more damage, but Deoxys is still able to hang on, go for the Psycho Boost, and win Switch Advantage. And Switch Advantage is very nice, as they send in the A-Slash, but now I can align it onto Greedent. And as you can see, the Mud Shots are starting to chip away at the A-Slash. A-Slash can go for the Drill Run, but Greedent is very bulky. Greedent will be able to withstand multiple Drill Runs here, and these Crunches are going to be chipping away at its health. Crunch will connect. Unfortunately, no defense drop for me. They're trying to CMP tie. I'm just going to let this go and go for the extra. I should be safe to throw 4 more Mud Shots and then go for the Body Slam just before they're able to make it to the Ice Punch. Body Slam, of course, will be lethal. Let's see what they have in the back. And my opponent has Chestnut in the back. And even though I have 2 Pokemon remaining that are weak to fighting, I'm still in a good spot here. I'm going to fire off the back-to-back Body Slams. Opponent is going to no-shield that one as well. And I can send in the Shadow Steelix. And unfortunately, there are just too many shields for Chestnut to be able to get this win. Frenzy Plant does a lot of damage, but Shadow Steelix will get the farm down. All in all, I think Mudshot is a really fun addition to Greedent's moveset. I don't think it's strictly better than Bullet Seed. I think there are definitely going to be some situations where having Bullet Seed could be preferred, and other situations where having a little bit of extra steel coverage on the Greedent could be quite nice, so it'll probably depend on the team comp that you're running. But the one thing I will say is 8 turns to a Body Slam is insanely fast. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.